Hello everyone, my name is Megan, and if you are a subscriber of my channel, I understand that this video is not normally the sort of videos that you are probably used to seeing. And for those of you who are new, because you Googled this or searched it and the title looked interesting to you, I also make videos about personality typology and other sort of psychological musings. So if you're interested in that, hit the subscribe button. But today I kind of wanted to make a more vulnerable sharing chatting video because I've seen a lot of these videos on the internet and I kind of wanted to just share my take on this topic and also share my story in regards to this topic. You know, before I realized that I was bisexual, which I didn't realize until I was 21, like almost 22, I didn't quite understand why people needed to come out, because I would think, like what you do with your partner is kind of your business. There's no need to really share it. And I would think, I've always been very much an ally of LGBTQ issues, but I didn't understand why people needed to come out, because I thought, like in a perfect world, it should just have to do with you and your partner, right? Like, I don't judge anyone, so why would I need to ever, or why do people need to share with the whole world? And if you are straight and watching this, or even some of you who are maybe gay and have always been gay and watching this and you resonate with that, I totally understand why. You might think that it doesn't make sense to share or come out because it's kind of a personal thing. But I came out about, or I discovered that I was bisexual 2 years ago about this time. And so this is something that I've been thinking about for 2 years, but not very actively. So I'm almost 24 now, and I have not really done like a formal coming out thing because I've just told some of my friends or whatever. But what I'm realizing now is that people would come out because whenever you are LGBT, people assume your preference all the time, and it feels weird when people are assuming you're one way and you know that you're another way. And so to clarify, hey, I'm bisexual, that's how I identify, is very courageous and very much standing up for myself, because every time that I'm not saying it, I am essentially feeling how people are assuming that I have one sexual preference. And I understand that could build up a lot over time, especially if you're someone like me. You don't know right now because I'm wearing a ponytail and a t-shirt if you're new to my channel, but I'm very, I would say, femme. I always have liked fashion. I've always liked makeup, stuff like that. My hair is almost always down and curled a little bit. And the reason why it's in a ponytail now is because I'm trying to, kick back and relax with you guys. But I understand now that, to make a video like this and be like, yes, I am bisexual, is so much different than just mentioning it casually in another video or mentioning it casually to friends. To be out is to be no longer are people assuming that you are one way when you're not. And everyone who deals with oppression, I'm sure a lot of you might have heard of like intersectional, that term, which is essentially like, I'm a white woman, so I have some privilege, but as a bisexual woman, I have some, oppression. But as a bisexual, I would never say that, I have more or less oppression than someone who identifies as lesbian or gay. But I do think that I do have a very specific type of oppression as someone who is for lack of a better word, mostly straight. I have mostly liked guys about 80% of the time. People assume that I'm straight all the time. And not until I knew that I was bisexual did I start to feel how much people assume that I'm straight. And I think that based on the way that I present myself and based on my past dating history, it makes sense that people would assume that I'm straight, and I don't fault anyone for that. But I wanted to talk in this video about what does bisexual mean to me, because the reason why I use the term bisexual is because it is the most recognizable. Some people prefer pansexual, but for me, if you're saying that you're pansexual, the people that know what that word is are pretty much, you can assume that they are a little bit more educated in social justice and more educated in these sort of issues. And so the people who actually know what that word means aren't really the people that I'm trying to come out to, honestly, because those people don't care. They're like, oh yeah, you're fluid, that's fine. But the people that I have to explain myself to would understand the word bisexual way more than they would understand the word pansexual. And to me, I don't view the definition of bisexual as both genders. I view it as the same gender or a different gender, which still means bisexual. And a lot of people might think, oh, so that means that you're sexually attracted to both men and women. So does that mean that you find girls super hot then? And have you always felt that way? That's the thing where, no, I haven't. And that's why I did not know that I was bisexual until later on. Because for me, with everyone that I have been attracted to, it has always been an emotional connection first, with men and with women. And almost every man that I've dated have been I felt a strong spiritual or emotional connection first, and then I started to view them as sexually attractive once I felt the connection. And the same has been the case with women, not women, yeah. And that just happened later in life. And so does that mean that I changed? I don't know. For me, this has been very hard to accept because I like to pride myself on being super self-aware. I've always been an ally, and so how would I not know that I was bisexual? I still don't really feel like I have a place in the LGBT community, and you know, I haven't really tried to put myself in that space. But now, like the past 2 years, I feel like I don't belong in either space. I feel like I don't belong in the straight world, and I also don't belong in the LGBT world. And so the story goes that essentially I've always had a really weird dating history. I mean, I've liked a lot of gay guys in high school that honestly might be bi, like, who knows? Because I personally believe, side note, that everyone is fluid. Like, I would say I'm like 80% straight, like 20% into women, but I think everyone is a percentage, even if you are 99.9999 one way. But that being said, I would never, just because that's my belief, I would never enforce that on somebody else. I would never tell my gay and lesbian friends, oh, well, you just haven't met the right insert gender here. Like, because that's really a personal belief. I believe that everyone's fluid just because of my experience, because I feel like I would have known earlier in life if I had more of a stronger physical connection to women. I would have had a crush on someone in my adolescence. But all of my crushes were on boys. But what I really believe is that I'm looking for a specific set of qualities and a specific ratio of some masculine and some feminine qualities. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean looks-wise. Like, a lot of men that I have liked have been very emotional or very passive in certain ways and have expected me to make the first move. So that might sound maybe like stereotypically feminine in some ways, but I like when people, I like finding an equal partner that makes the first move. I sometimes make the first move, they sometimes do. I've never really been super attracted to super muscly men that like are super chivalrous and do all these things for me. A lot of guys that people would consider stereotypically like conventionally hot, I have not found attractive. So the people that I have found attractive have not normally been found conventionally attractive when it comes to men. And so I've always been that way. I've always gone for the soul or whatever. I've always gone for feeling like I have a connection first. And what happened is whenever I was a senior in college, just about to graduate, this girl reached out to me who, funny enough, was kind of seeing my ex-boyfriend, and she was under the impression that maybe he was lying to her, like, about me and, like, to her. And so we connected and kind of realized that this guy has been pitting us against each other, which I did not even know her. He was telling her lies, saying that I hated her and things like that, and that I was gonna slash her tires, and that I was stalking her and all these things, because I think he just didn't want us to meet. But I did not even know her, so I did not even know that this was going on. She was like a mutual friend of some friends, and so sometimes I would like smile or talk to people she was with, and she would always look terrified of me, and I never knew why, but now I knew. And so we became like super good friends, and it was like a John Tucker Must Die moment, if you have seen that movie. And we just laid it all out there. We bitched about how this guy treated us, how he lied to us, the pathological lying, all this stuff. And we both felt a little crazy during, you know, we both dealt with verbal abuse by the same person. So I knew that she was bisexual, and I felt like she was flirting with me at times. And the only reason that I would have ever probably realized that I was attracted to her is because I was analyzing my reaction to her. I wasn't like, oh my god, she's hot, I want to have sex with her, blah, blah, blah. But that's not how I am with anyone. Nobody that I like do I feel right off the bat like, oh my god, like I want to have sex with them. That's just, I don't have that strong of an urge. And so I guess that's why I wouldn't have known that I was bisexual before, because I had so many beautiful female friends that I was not attracted to. And I have so many, like, I know so many beautiful women that I am not attracted to, and I just don't see that way. And so I didn't even consider that I could be that way. But I started to notice the way that I would react to her text messages. Like, I like wanted her to text me back. I was like wondering if she was flirting with me. Like, I wanted to see her all the time, and I would like make a goofy smile if someone brought her up. And then it was just like, okay, hold on now. Like, this is not normal. And I think the fact that she was bi made me think that she liked me, like part of me wanted her to like me or something. I don't know. But that's when I realized that, you know, this is not a normal friendship. That's not how I feel with my friends. I've never waited for a female friend who I thought was conventionally attractive to text me back. That's just not how you act with friends. So then, you know, it turns out she did like me. We both kind of made a move around the same time. We both were very intuitive in that sense and just sort of knew that something was going on. And so we dated for 3 months. A lot of that was long distance. And so I didn't get to necessarily like explore my bi curiosity that much. And so whenever that ended, I didn't have enough experiences hooking up with someone of the same gender to even really be that confident in my sexuality. And so I kind of, after that happened was like, you know what, like, I like men so much more, like, it would be so much easier if I just, like, start a family and whatever. It would be so much easier for my family, and it'd be so much easier for everyone involved if I just dated a man, because I feel like I have a more instant physical connection with men, which I wonder now, is that just because I had more sexual experiences with men, that I was more sexually awakened in that regard and was not awakened in my bisexuality? Who knows? And, you know, a lot of these questions, nobody ever is going to know the full answer. And, you know, in this time, I really was beating myself up, like, why don't I know? Like, shouldn't I know? Like, shouldn't this be something that's super obvious to me? Like, I wished that I was just gay and that I just could look back on my life and see examples of being gay. But I couldn't find any. Like, there weren't any. Even when I came out as bi to my parents, it was like, no, you're not. You've always been so boy crazy. Remember that one boy that you really liked? And I'm like, yeah, I do remember it. That's why I'm so stressed out right now. Because what else is going on? Like, what else are you going to call it? And a lot of you might have heard of bi erasure? Eraser? I don't know. That's a weird word because it's like not a sound, whatever. People erase bisexuality. They refer to it, people a lot of times think of bisexuality as just being promiscuous, which is so not how it is for me at all, which some bi people, that's totally how it is, and that's fine for you, but it has nothing to do with, you know, wanting to have threesomes or anything like that. Like, to me, what bisexuality means to me is being open to what my heart wants, no matter what gender that person is, and to not trying to control who I'm sexually attracted to based on their body, how they look, what parts they have, and instead focusing on the soul of the person. And I had to really humble myself and realize that I don't always know how things are gonna go. Like, the heart wants what it wants, apparently, and I can't look on the surface level, not just at, you know, someone's gender or their body type, but also a lot of surface level things. It really made me realize it's not just the gender that is surface level, at least for me. It's the career, it's the interests, it's how they dress, all those things. All of that is the mind trying to control who they think that you might be attracted to. It's looking for tells that might indicate that you might be attracted to this person. And there are so many guys, like tall, dark, handsome, mysterious men, artists men, that I have always fallen for because I thought we should work, that we didn't necessarily work. But there were all these tells that my brain created into thinking that that person was compatible with me, as opposed to listening to my heart and feeling what my heart felt and what I wanted to be compatible with. And to me, being bisexual means that I am opening that up to, you know, to God, to the universe, to whatever my heart wants to be with, whatever person fits with me. I am giving up control and I am surrendering to that. Because I don't have all the answers. Just because I've always preferred men, does that mean I'm always going to? And so yeah, to sort of wrap up the story, I dated that girl for 3 months, and then for the 2 years after that, I dated men, and I, you know, dated people on and off. I kept getting my heart broken. I kept, but, you know, I kept high standards, and just nobody I was meeting met my standards, and I was so upset because people would just continuously prove their character to me, and I was so stressed out. Like, men would get my hopes up and then just break my heart and just be a different person. They would act as if they're full potential to try and win me over, and then they would stop being their full potential once they got me or something. And, you know, whenever I would feel this way, one, I didn't feel like I was as bi as I thought, because I wasn't ever feeling an emotional or sexual connection to a woman. But I also was so frustrated with men, and I didn't want to generalize men. I didn't want to become an angry feminist. I kept wanting to believe that, you know, the perfect one is out there, and I just need to keep having standards, and that maybe the perfect one will be out there. But then I started to feel like, you know, it would be so much easier if I was a lesbian, because I would probably just find someone that I was super accepted by and someone that I can connect with on an emotional level. But at the same time, like I'm saying, I don't want to generalize about men or women, because men and women can be very emotionally perceptive and emotionally intelligent. But the fact is, if you are a woman, you were socialized by society to use emotions in a different way than men were socialized to. And so the outcomes are different on a macro level. On an individual level, you can't judge someone for that. But on a macro level, you kind of can't, because the trends are there. And so, long story short, I have been dating a woman for about a month now, and I have been very much freaked out about, what if I end up with this person forever? What does that say about me? And before you think I'm getting ahead of myself, this is how I am with like almost every relationship. Why would I date someone who I didn't think that I could end up with them forever? Like, I know I might be getting ahead of myself, whatever, but that's so weird to think, what if I have to live that way forever? Not that that would be a bad way to live, but for some reason it destroys me to think that if I did end up with her forever, then people would just label me as a lesbian, and that's not who I am. And it's not wrong to be a lesbian, it's just not, it's wrong when it comes to who I am. It's not who I am. And the same way that people assume about me being straight all the time, if I start being more public as the relationship progresses, if this turns out to be a long-term thing, then people are gonna assume that I'm a lesbian. And I think more people need to talk about bisexuality, and I know that there are some influencers that I follow that talk about it, but it definitely is not talked about as much as being lesbian or gay or even trans, I would say. Maybe not. People don't talk about being trans as much, but I would say it is being more talked about these days. But I wanted to share my experience because it does feel good to get off my chest, and I think that I accept things better after I share them. And once I hear myself talk about it out loud, for some reason, it helps me have empathy for myself whenever I'm listening to myself versus when I'm just feeling it. And then internally I could just be like, shut up, everyone has this problem, calm down. And you know, there are a lot of people out there that probably feel this way. Like, I know that's true. I've had people say things to me where it's like, oh, well, I've like fantasized about the same gender, but like I'm mostly straight, so it doesn't matter, right? And you know, you're right, it doesn't matter. It only is going to matter to you like once you choose to date someone of that gender. I mean, okay, don't want to say that, because you know, if you have feelings, that's also very real, even if you don't ever date someone of the same gender or of the opposite gender, whatever. But it only has to matter to you. You only have to talk about it whenever you want to talk about it. And so for you, if you are perfectly fine being labeled as straight while you have been curious about the opposite gender, that's totally fine. You don't have to feel like you're bi, but you know, you might meet someone one day that might completely knock your socks off and then completely rattle your brain and your worldview of yourself. You might think, well, was I wrong this whole time about being straight? And you weren't, you know, like, and that's why I think it's important to talk about this, because so many people, it's all just an identity. You know, my name is Megan, that is my identity, and if that changed, that would be really weird for me. And my sexual identity is an identity, and for that to change, or seemingly change at least, kind of rattles you. And so for me, it has been a journey of trying to put the pieces together and see a more linear path of my sexuality, and not to just think, oh, I was this way and then I was this way. What? Like, I gotta figure out how all the pieces get together and stuff like that. And I think for me right now, where I'm at is, to be bisexual is that I am giving up control to the universe and to my desires. I don't know what gender I'm gonna end up with. I don't know what person I'm gonna end up with. To know what gender that I'm gonna end up with sounds just as crazy as to know what specific person I'm gonna end up with, or, you know, anything else about how my life is gonna go. So I'm trying to give up that control a little bit, and it doesn't need to be a perfect fit. You know, if there were different words for, like, being mostly straight or being mostly gay, then sure, maybe I would put on that label. But I do think that sexuality is so fluid that it's impossible, because each person's experience is independent to them, and so one word is never going to fit everything that you feel. So anyway, this is my experience about being bisexual. I hope that it helped some of you, or inspired some of you to share if you're bisexual and you feel like you're ignored and not part of the conversation. I'd love to connect with you. Or if you aren't, maybe you at least thought of another perspective, and maybe you know, don't want to assume everyone's sexuality when you first meet them. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your day.